Amid an extremely packed schedule and immense mental pressure ahead of their world tour in Canada, two global BTS stars, Jimin and Jungkook, were unexpectedly caught on camera stealing some private time together in a hidden valley without any staff escort. A short amateur video capturing the intimate moment when Jungkook poured warm tea and Jimin rested his head on his friend's shoulder quickly sparked global excitement and triggered an emotional wave among ARMYs around the world. Welcome to Jimin Gallery, the home for Park Jimin fans who want to discover all the latest news, interesting facts, and stories behind the world's spotlight on Jimin. Surprising yet heartwarming news came from two global BTS stars, Jimin and Jungkook, who were recently caught on camera enjoying private time together at a secluded location far from the hustle and bustle of major cities. Amid an incredibly demanding schedule that requires them to be in peak physical and mental condition ahead of the continuation of their world tour, the two close friends and musical icons decided to steal a few days for themselves to refresh their bodies and minds before heading to Canada to continue the highly anticipated Arirang Tour, a mega concert series eagerly awaited by fans across the globe. The morning atmosphere at the secret hideaway appeared almost magical, covered in a thin mist that slowly descended along the slopes of the green hills surrounding a crystal-clear lake that looked like a natural mirror. Beside the calm water, Jimin and Jungkook could be seen sitting side by side on an old wooden bench facing a panorama of untouched wilderness, enjoying a silence that had been difficult for them to find for years amid the dazzling stage lights and relentless attention of the international media. Both were dressed casually in matching thick jackets to shield themselves from the bone-chilling mountain air, creating an aesthetically striking silhouette beneath the morning sky as it slowly turned blue. There were no management staff accompanying them, and no security guards in black suits standing watch nearby. There was simply a sense of complete freedom for two young men had spent their adolescence and adulthood working tirelessly toward a shared dream. This exceptionally rare moment of togetherness suddenly became a hot topic among the global community after a devoted fan, commonly known as an ARMY, accidentally captured their presence from a distance using a fan camera. The short but emotionally charged video quickly spread across various social media platforms, highlighting the strength of the emotional bond and genuine friendship between the two immensely talented men. In the amateur footage, Jungkook can clearly be seen carefully pouring warm tea from a small thermos into a paper cup before handing it to Jimin, who accepted it with the sweet, familiar smile that has always managed to melt the hearts of millions of fans. This simple yet meaningful gesture seemed to reflect the depth of their relationship, in which words are often no longer necessary for them to understand each other's exhaustion or happiness. Jimin then appeared to rest his head for a moment on Jungkook's shoulder while closing his eyes, enjoying the cool breeze carrying the fresh scent of pine trees, as though trying to escape the extraordinary pressure that follows their every move as global superstars. Jungkook responded by warmly wrapping an arm around Jimin's shoulder, offering the solid support and sense of security that can only come from someone who has experienced both the joys and hardships of life alongside him in cramped practice rooms since their exhausting trainee days. The secret place they chose for their escape was reportedly a remote valley located in an isolated border region, far beyond the reach of professional paparazzi and entertainment industry observers who often seek to intrude on celebrities' privacy. Their decision to take a discreet getaway demonstrates just how deeply they needed private space simply to be themselves, breathe without pressure, and remove the mask of fame that has become so firmly attached to their everyday lives. As midday approached, the atmosphere at the secret retreat became warmer as sunlight began filtering through the rows of tall trees, casting a golden glow across the surface of the lake and creating mesmerizing reflections. Jimin and Jungkook were seen walking along a gravel path beside the water, occasionally stopping to photograph the scenery with an antique analog camera that they often bring on personal trips to capture authentic memories. Small bursts of laughter could be heard when Jungkook playfully tossed a small stone across the lake to create ripples, while Jimin jokingly protested because the splashing water nearly reached his new shoes. It was a remarkably casual and human moment, far removed from the image of perfection they typically present on stage to an international audience. These natural moments are precisely what ARMYs have always cherished, not only their music, but also the genuine personalities that have remained intact behind their overwhelming success. However, the demands of the future could not simply be avoided amid the tranquility of their brief getaway, as their departure for North America was already fast approaching. The long journey to Canada to begin a new chapter of the Arirang Tour would require extraordinary physical preparation, exhausting choreography rehearsals, and a significant adjustment to a new time zone for bodies already drained by months of performing on stage. The Arirang Tour itself is being touted as one of the biggest and most emotionally significant musical projects in BTS's career, bringing messages of culture, identity, and a profound spiritual journey to millions of spectators at grand stadiums across Canada and the United States. The psychological pressure to deliver flawless performances and exceed global expectations would naturally represent another burden for Jimin and Jungkook to carry on their still young shoulders. Therefore, this brief escape to a secret location was not merely an ordinary vacation. It was a crucial ritual of emotional healing for both of them, a chance to recharge before the storm of stage lights and public attention once again swept relentlessly through their lives. In this quiet place, they could gather their strength, realign their vision, and encourage one another to remain determined to deliver their best performances in return for the boundless love of their devoted fans around the world. The fan cam footage documenting this warm and seemingly romantic moment between the two friends sparked an extraordinary wave of emotion among netizens, with many leaving supportive comments and prayers for the idol's safety on their journey. Special hashtags celebrating Jimin and Jungkook's time together quickly reached the top of global trends within minutes, demonstrating just how much public attention and interest surrounds every moment of their private lives. Several hours after the video went viral online, the agency was reportedly said to have immediately increased security around the area to protect the two artists' privacy from potential crowds of fans and reporters attempting to track down their secluded location. The swift action was taken to ensure that the remaining precious moments of Jimin and Jungkook's getaway would not be disrupted by the media frenzy that so often crosses the boundaries of personal privacy. As evening approached, the sky above the remote lake transformed into a dramatic gradient of orange, purple, and crimson, creating the perfect ending to a peaceful day of escape for two exhausted souls. Jimin and Jungkook sat side by side on the wooden deck of a small pier, watching the sun slowly disappear behind the mountain horizon while enjoying cups of hot chocolate that released thin wisps of steam into the increasingly chilly evening air. No more words were exchanged between them at the end of that day. Instead, there was a meaningful silence that seemed to reaffirm that simply being together could feel like the most comfortable home in a world that moved far too quickly. They knew that once dawn arrived the following morning, they would have to put their pop star armor back on, face the chaos of international airports, and fly toward the grand stages awaiting them in Canada. But for tonight, in a hidden corner of the world far removed from public view, they were simply two young men named Jimin and Jungkook, sharing the warmth of brotherhood beneath a night sky filled with brilliant stars. The memories of peace and togetherness they found in this secret place would remain safely tucked away in their hearts, becoming a strong mental fortress when they eventually faced the blazing spotlights of massive stadiums across North America. The fan cam that captured the incident may have triggered a global sensation, but behind the digital frenzy was a deeply human story about loyalty, exhaustion, and the beauty of genuine friendship amid the pressures of the modern entertainment industry. The world may continue to demand perfection from Jimin and Jungkook, but in that hidden retreat, they had rediscovered the essence of true happiness, something that no amount of wealth or fame could ever buy. Now, a new chapter of their journey in Canada awaited them, carrying the hopes of millions of people ready to welcome them with deafening cheers and a breathtaking sea of glowing light sticks throughout every concert arena. With their energy replenished and their bond stronger than ever, Jimin and Jungkook were ready to move forward together, facing every challenge of the Arirang Tour with their heads held high and confident smiles on their faces. As the shadows of night grew deeper and stars began filling the sky above their secret hideaway, Jimin and Jungkook slowly rose from their wooden seats, feeling far lighter than they had when they arrived that morning. The burdens of complicated choreography, a demanding tour schedule, and the expectations of millions of watching eyes seemed to have been swept away and left behind in the soothing breeze of the valley. Before finally leaving the pier and returning to their temporary accommodation, Jungkook briefly turned toward Jimin and offered him a confident smile, which his beloved friend immediately answered with a firm nod. This small closing moment of the night revealed just how ready the two of them were to return to the chaos of the international entertainment world with renewed energy burning brightly within them. Their footsteps now carried them along the darkened path toward the vehicle that would take them back to reality, ready to embark on their next great adventure in Canada. A new chapter of the Arirang Tour awaited them, carrying with it the warm memories of the secret retreat and the embrace of friendship that would always remain their safest sanctuary. How do you feel when you see just how strong Jimin and Jungkook's friendship appears to be despite the immense pressure of global fame? Adventure in Canada. A new chapter of the Arirang Tour awaited them, carrying with it the warm memories of the secret retreat and the embrace of friendship that would always remain their safest sanctuary. How do you feel when you see just how strong Jimin and Jungkook's friendship appears to be despite the immense pressure of global fame?